This is my analysis of all the Gossip Girl dads, including Blair's, Nate's, Serena's, Dan's, and Chuck's. And obviously we can say that Chuck had the worst dad. Bart Bass was obviously the worst because he tried to murder Chuck. But there's also a lot to be said about the rest of the dads on this list because none of these dads were perfect saints, in my opinion. So starting off strong with Blair's dad, Harold Waldorf, my obvious issue with him is that he is a cheater. The fact that he cheated with a man is not the issue. The fact that he cheated at all is the issue. Eleanor was definitely difficult to root for and love at the beginning because she wasn't really the most, the best mom to Blair. But as Gossip Girl progresses, Eleanor, her character development was really on point, and I actually really felt for her. The fact that she was cheated on and had to go through such a messy divorce and feel so abandoned. Obviously, Harold was not living in his truth. What else I can say about Eleanor is that I'm really happy she moved on and met Cyrus, but it sucks that she got cheated on in the first place, and that was Harold's doing. Okay, and next up is Nate Archibald's dad, Howard Archibald. Howard was the definition of a hot mess. He was arrested and initially got in trouble for his cocaine addiction, and then his charges for fraud and embezzlement were exposed, and those were kind of just slapped on top, and he had to do prison time. So he wasn't, there for his wife or Nate. And at one point, he even tried to smuggle his entire family to another country so that he could evade jail time altogether. Howard really pissed me off as a character because his wife, Anne Archibald, had her father set him up with, perfect situation, a high-paying job. She literally said it, I'm going to misquote her, but she said something along the lines of, all you had to do is show up to work, put your nose down, get the work done, and everything would have been fine, and you couldn't even do that. And it's just so frustrating because it's hand a man everything in the world that they could possibly need on a silver platter, and somehow they'll still fuck it up. Okay, don't even get me started on Serena's dad, William Vanderwoodson. The abandonment issues that he created in Serena and Eric is just the beginning. It's barely scratching the surface. Let's talk about the fact that Serena went on an entire wild rampage trying to get his attention by doing crazy things to end up in the paparazzi. And Eric had a full-on suicide attempt in before episode 1 even started. In hindsight, we are now all well aware that Eric's suicide attempt had to do with the fact that he felt really alone and unable to open up to anyone about the fact that he was LGBTQ, and he felt just very depressed that he was gay and unable to, open up about his secret sexual identity at the time. But the fact that his dad wasn't around as part of that support system is definitely, in my opinion, part of why he had the suicide attempt. Serena was gone at boarding school, Lily was being her dismissive mother bullshit, and William wasn't there for Eric either. Okay, so that's strike 1. Strike 2 is the fact that he fathered Lola with Lily's sister. He's literally Lola's dad. He definitely turned Serena and Lola into sister cousins. Strike 3 and you're out. He cured Lily of cancer and then told her she was still sick so that he could continue growing close to her. So how are you gonna allow someone to continue thinking that they're dying from cancer when they're already fully healed just so that you can stay in their aura? I'm sorry, but that's evil. I don't understand how Lily ended up with him. Okay, let's move on to Rufus. My 2 big issues with Rufus were the sexism in his parenting style. Dan was free to run rampant and do whatever the hell he wanted. Jenny, on the other hand, he just had to crack the whip on Jenny. He was so strict on her, and it's not even she wanted to go out, hook up with guys, party, do drugs. She wanted to be a fashion designer, and Rufus just couldn't handle that. He just didn't want to support her dream of being a fashion designer. To me, it was ridiculous that he was so supportive of everything Dan wanted to do, but when it came time for him to be supportive of Jenny, he just wasn't capable of it. And I'm actually not surprised that Jenny wanted to file for emancipation. I was kind of rooting for her at that time because Rufus was just out of control trying to act like such a strict father. My second issue with Rufus, the moment Dan walked in on him and Ivy when their legs were intertwined and they had just finished having sex, that I'm traumatized. I'm truly traumatized. I wish I had never seen that scene. He completely abandoned all opportunity of possibly reconciling with Lily so he could hook up with Ivy, who is the same age as Dan and Jenny, his kids. Okay, and then Bart Bass is so obvious. His storyline was, I felt so bad for Chuck. Like, Chuck never had an opportunity to have a great relationship with his dad because his dad was always in silent competition with him. His dad was always talking down to him, talking shit to him, telling him that he was, you know, useless, worthless, whatever the fuck. He was always treating Chuck so badly. And ultimately, he tried to kill Chuck on the rooftop. So, does it get any worse than that? Obviously, he is the worst dad out of this batch. He's the worst dad out of this bunch. He is just a travesty of a father. I was really relieved when he died, I'll be honest. There was like some patches of time where I had hope for him. Like, I thought like, okay, maybe being with Lily will soften him up. Maybe he's going to change for the better, but like he only got worse and worse and worse. Like, also he donated blood to keep Chuck alive. Like, I had a slight bit of hope that things could get better, but yeah, he only just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So I actually lined up the dads in order of how annoying or like fucked up I find them. And, you know, Serena's dad and Dan's dad could be interchangeable. Maybe Serena's dad was worse than Dan's dad. I just really didn't like Rufus's treatment of Jenny. I also really didn't like that William told Lily she still had cancer. Anyways, yeah, all the dads on Gossip Girl, none of them were great.